I'm Naushad Emmambux from the Department of Consumer and Food Sciences from the University of Pretoria, and I form part of the Center of Excellence in Food Security. I'm mostly involved in the program on innovation, and I'm the principal investigator within this program dealing with mostly food science and food processing. In this program, my role is really to look at what technological innovation one can use to improve the food security status of South Africa. So firstly, we know that in South Africa there is an epidemic in terms of malnutrition. Malnutrition we are talking here, we are triple burden of malnutrition. Firstly, it's macronutrients, where especially kids doesn't have enough energy and protein. Second one is micronutrient, where basically kids doesn't have enough micronutrient in terms of iron, zinc and vitamin A. And we're also trying to look at overnutrition in terms of diet-related non-communicable diseases, for example, obesity and its associated diseases like type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. In terms of these malnutrition, the main causes for kids where the malnutrition is mostly lack of energy and protein, and the adults malnutrition in terms of what causes obesity is mostly the high energy dense food. So we're working on both spectrum. For malnutrition in terms of especially for kids or for infants that later lead to stunting, we are looking at how we can increase the energy density as well as the protein density of food. For example, we're using various ways to increase the energy and protein density, or in terms or if you want to say nutrient density of the food for the kids. In terms of adults, to reduce the epidemic or pandemic of obesity and diet-related non-communicable diseases, we are looking at how we can reduce the energy density of food, and this we are working into two aspects, where we can modify starch to reduce the glycemic index, as well as we are developing and producing fat replacers that can replace fat in food but still taste as good as fatty food. And the other aspect where we are looking at the cardiovascular diseases, we are looking at bioactive compounds in food and how these bioactive compounds in food can help to prevent cardiovascular disease in terms of the antihypertensive, or even can also act as enzyme blockers to reduce digestion of foods, so that there is no rapid release of glucose for type 2 diabetes. And after looking at all sorts of these food where we can produce the food in the lab, we want to look at how we can use what processing technologies what one can use to produce whether the high energy or protein dense food for babies or the other nutrient dense food to combat diet related non-communicable diseases. So we're looking at extrusion, for example, where it can depolymerize starch, and this starch, with depolymerizing starch means you can increase the solid content of food. And when we are extruding, we are using starch based cereal as well as legume. Legume is rich in protein and cereal is in starch, so which provide the energy. So both combination, we increase the density of the food for infant, and then it provides both nutrient in terms of the energy. It will be energy dense as well as protein dense. And for in terms of the diet related non-communicable diseases, one example is we are trying to promote whole grain cereal grain and whole grain legume grain. For example, we are trying to see how, for example, we can make convenient, affordable as well as very tasty food. For example, we are trying to reviving the concept of eating samp and bean at home. Samp and bean take very long to cook, but we are trying to find ways, for example, to quicken the cooking process of samp, where we can cook samp now in 30 minutes instead of 90 minutes using pre-processing technologies like microwave and micronization.